Rich, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, how are you, TJ?
Good. I'm so glad we've. I think we named the podcast too, didn't we?
Yes, we did. What are we calling it?
I don't know. I forgot.
Rich, why do you have shoes on the table?
Yeah. Why take your shoes off my table?
Shoes are of utmost importance in production work. And you're like, what do you mean by that? Well, I'm going to say right now, right off the bat, that if you don't have comfortable shoes, it's going to make your day a lot longer. And lucky for me, I learned very early in my career, maybe when I was 22, 24, someone told me, Rich, spend money on shoes. I'm like, they're like $150, $200. I'm like, I'm not going to spend that kind of money. And then after I had a couple of 16, 17-hour days standing on cement in the studio, and everyone else was yelling, and complaining about how much their feet hurt, and I'm like, my feet are fine. So I learned really early that spending money on good shoes is really a great production tip. And the ones that I really love the most, and I've tried a whole bunch of different kinds of walking shoes, but I have settled on Echoes. Right now, if you go, they probably have 40 kind of models. So you can get dress shoes, you can get sandals, you can get hiking shoes, golf shoes. They really make shoes for every situation right now. And
How often are you standing on?
So if you're in a studio shoot,
Yeah.
a lot of times it's a hard floor. So you would think, it's going to be a nice, comfortable situation in a studio. And it is, because it's temperature controlled, and, there's probably some, restrooms nearby, and there's going to be some great craft services. But it's going to be a hard floor. And chances are you're going to be standing on that for 10 or 12 hours. So I have found that actually that's where the shoes really come in handy, is on the super hard floors. Now, if you're out in the field, and you're walking around on some grass, you're on the pavement a little bit, and you're just moving around a little bit, it's not going to be as fatiguing, but it can be really fatiguing just standing, operating a camera, being a grip, gaffer position, you just tend to always be on your feet. So, man, I'm going to tell you right now, just spend the money and get some really good shoes. I mean, just get something that have got some really thick soles, that's just going to be kind of mushy and comfortable. I guess I'm starting to see now a lot of these Hoka they're called, I think.
Yeah, like a running shoe.
It seems to be I call it a set shoe. A lot of people, who are in the production business are wearing these things because, once again, it's just a really big cushion. And that's where you're going to get that fatigue, is in your heel,
Yeah, so I just picked up a pair of New Balance that are the lightest shoe I've ever had.
Mhm.
It's just feels like a huge piece of foam.
Yeah.
It looks like the Hoka's, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm noticing those are more like, if they were sneakers, that's like a trail shoe or something.
Yes.
Because it has a little bit of a little more grip maybe to it.
Yeah,
A
and
little
so
more of a toe.
it's interesting that you say that.
Like a running shoe is too flimsy for
Yeah.
production, right?
And I have settled a little bit on the trail shoe, because it's going to be very diverse, right? So it's going to work indoors, it's going to work outdoors. These actually have that Gore-Tex in them, so you're out on a shoot, starts to rain, you hit some snow, you're in the mud, it's going to work for that too. So I tend to get always something with Gore-Tex, and both of these have Gore-Tex. But you were talking about the soles, but look at this. The particular soles on this one shoe actually say Michelin on there. So that's probably a pretty high quality
Tire sole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a pretty high quality sole on that. And here's more of an indoor sole,
Yeah.
And I would wear these if I know specifically I'm just going to be, in a concert hall, in a convention center, in a hotel or something like that. I know that I'm not going to have to go inside or outside. So I'd consider this kind of shoe, indoor only. But a shoe like this, a track and trail shoe, every situation you could come up with. Inside, outside, they work great if it's hot out there, because they breathe. They'll stay pretty comfortable in the cold, maybe wear a thicker sock. But man, good shoes are key.
So even though Echo and companies like that make a fancier dress shoe that is comfortable for people who need to wear, suits and jackets and things.
Yeah.
In production, as a general rule of thumb, you never have to wear a dress shoe looking shoe.
That's true. I'd say, even if you're in let's say a high-end corporate event, and even if they want you to wear a sport coat, they'll always be okay with comfort-looking shoes.
How often do you get asked to wear a sport coat operating camera?
I almost never.
Almost ever, right?
I think it's happened once or twice where they gave you the option, but I very rarely take that option because it's just too uncomfortable. If you're going to be shouldering a camera, very, very uncomfortable. If you're going to be running a studio configuration, still just too much
Shoulders.
bulk. Yeah. You just want as much comfort as possible, especially if it's hours and hours and hours. So very rarely you'll get that. You know what you do get a lot of? You do get a lot of the dress black thing. So dress blacks are you're wearing black pants, a black shirt, sometimes even a black hat.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you're requested to have dress blacks on just so you're not calling attention to yourself. If you're in a studio environment, multi-camera type of thing, there's lots of crew around. They just kind of want you to fall into the background, right? So comedy shows, dress blacks. Trade shows, dress blacks. Music shows, dress blacks. Just so you're blending into the background. And you'll see this a lot if someone has got to pop on stage. 100% of the time, blacks. It's also what's good about that, too, is all the people that are in dress blacks, are part of the crew.
You just made me think of something, which is like the difference between a collar and not collar. So there's like polo shirts that are black, dress shirts that are black.
Yeah.
But then if you have to run up and throw a mic on a stage or something, like, I think a black T-shirt's okay.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like if the more you have to move around, the less a collar would be appropriate.
I agree. I don't think I've had much stipulation in terms of the kind of shirt you have to wear. Okay. Please stay away from T-shirts, or let's make sure it's a collar, or even the long sleeve, short sleeve thing. I haven't had much pushback on any of that stuff, as long as it's black. So the black thing is it's a big thing, and you know what? Another big part of, I'll call it the uniform for production people, is having some sort of a multi-tool. Do you have a multi-tool?
Yes, so
you do.
I
right on.
Cheating a little bit here. I did see you bring out the tools. I was like, I'm bringing out my tools. I'm bringing out my toys.
Yeah. So TJ,
I don't have the game you have. I have your basic.
So you got some pliers.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pliers, knife. Yeah. There's a little saw blade, screwdrivers. I mean, it's nice. I got this as a gift.
Yeah. And you were telling me, like, you just recently started wearing this almost daily, and like you're all the time using it now, right?
Because you told me about it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how much, if you have one of these things nearby, it comes into play all the time.
Yeah, I thought, okay, so for the longest time so I come from post-production, right? But so my production skills just aren't nearly as good as yours.
Yeah.
Not even close. But I would a la carte my tool needs very quickly. Gaff tape.
Yeah.
Screwdrivers, little Allen keys.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't see, like in my regular tool here, it's got great little cutting tools. It's got little screwdrivers. Yeah. But it doesn't have like the Allen key set.
Yeah, and I think, and I have this right here because you were telling me about this, and this is also a great little tool to have. It's got your Allens.
Yeah.
So in combination with a multi-tool like that, you're going to be covered. But I got to tell you, I have streamlined things even more than that big flashlight and that multi-tool. I've got everything now down to one little pouch, and in my little pouch, of course, I have the multi-tool. And I happen to use the Leatherman. Which one is this? This is the titanium charge. Super lightweight, multi-functional. I probably have had this thing, 10 years. And comes in handy all the time. But look what else I've done to kind of streamline my little pouch here. So I used to always have a big, gigantic mag light. And that was cool, but, it got in the way, on your belt and hanging down the side of your pants and stuff like that. It would get caught on ladders and things like that. So I went to these mini mag light, and this happens to be plenty bright for, just something that's kind of close by. And I love the fact that, it's all self-contained, right? So I've got my little light, which I feel like you always will need. Got my multi-tool. And then look at this, TJ. This is a great little addition. It's just a little, Sharpie. And it seems like there's almost always an opportunity when someone, is asking for, hey, we got something to write with, and you could be marking a piece of something on stage. You could be labeling, a piece of equipment. Someone may just want to make a note to each other.
Yeah.
But just having something to write with is really important. I do have another tip, though, that's specifically for Sharpies. You're going to love this one. So if you have a Sharpie and somebody wants to borrow your Sharpie, do you know this one?
No.
Somebody wants this is a great one. Someone taught this to me. So someone wants to borrow your Sharpie. You keep the top and you give them the bottom, right? And they use it, right? And now they have to 100% of the time return it to you because they can't walk away with the Sharpie, right? Which typically you would, you borrow someone's Sharpie and you put it in your pocket, right? Now that you've given them only the bottom, they have to give it back to you so you could put a top on there.
That's funny.
Is that a good one?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that one.
Why a blue one? Yeah.
No specific reason. It just happened to be one that I had that fit in my little thing here. But look at this. I got to show you some other thing. So you were talking about having, a separate tool, for all these Allens.
So also when I don't know if this is a new thing or what, but when I bought, like the last time I bought like some Smallrig stuff to stick on my like cages and things, they have tools built into them. And I was like, did I just never notice that? Has it always been like that?
I think it's becoming more and more common.
Okay.
That you start to see tools accompany specific pieces of gear.
Yeah, built right into the gear.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot.
Because one of the coolest things I've seen is some of the tripod heads actually have like the 2 size screws in them already. So there's the 3/8 and the 5/8 screw. There's big and little.
That's a whole other video. So I make that up every time I have to put a plate on something. I just go into a bin full of these screws and the plates and try to figure out one that fits. And
right.
And it's
but this is so cool. So some of the new ones, right?
Yeah.
Have a slot where both of the 2 different sizes exist, and so whatever one you need is right there in the tripod. Yes, it's part, like you say,
in the plate,
in the actual plate itself.
Oh, you mean in?
Yeah.
So not in the plate that goes in the camera.
Right, just the actual tripod flat area,
the head.
Head itself.
Oh, I've never seen that.
So both of them exist. So this is, because, like, to your point, so starting to include the tools you need nearby.
Instead of putting a plate on the camera, you just screw the tripod into the camera.
Oh no, it has a plate, but there's a holder for the 2 different size screws.
Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
That is cool. That is cool.
So yeah, so this particular Leatherman actually has an accessory with all those Allens. So I can actually put Allens in this one thing.
So one thing on your hip, you basically have the flashlight, the pen, and the multi-tool in one thing.
One thing.
Yeah, it's a lot better than what I have going on.
Yeah,
because I actually have 3 or 4 things. Because I'll bring a big screen.
And it's a little bit bigger.
But I basically need to. Sometimes a room is just kind of dark and I can't see the darn buttons on the camera.
I know.
Or like something real simple.
Yeah.
But this is still overkill for that. That's still better.
Yeah. Hey, I have a good Leatherman story.
Okay.
So when I travel, I like to take some sort of Leatherman, and this is too big to take with carry-on.
You mean the blade is too big?
The blade is too big. So there are actually some smaller ones out there. I mean, it does have a little blade. It's only about that big.
Do you mean like it's in your baggage?
Yeah. So if I'm going to carry on, and not check a bag, if I don't have anything, I don't have a little scissor, if I don't have a little plier, if I don't have a little knife, it just seems like I need one. So right now, TSA says no blades are allowed. None of any size. Used to be like 3 inches and over was not allowed. Then it was 2 inches and over not allowed. Now it actually says no knife blades are allowed.
What about like a disposable razor?
That's fine. But I'm talking about a knife. And this knife is, let's see how big this one is. So that's how big that is. So even that is actually not allowed. But guys, I got to tell you, I just have a hard time not having some sort of multi-tool with me on a shoot. And so if I'm going to travel, this could be taken away. There's plenty of little ones out there that, like I say, are $5, $10, $15. But here's my story. So I was going to check my bag.
We're not advocating for doing anything against the rules.
No, we would never do that.
The point is that at times, if you only have a carry-on,
Mm-hmm.
and because you're not checking bags at all for a job,
Yeah.
sometimes you need to bring a basic tool on a plane,
Yes.
and there's a gray area due
Yeah.
to changing regulations. Stay up to date on what is the current acceptable screwdriver.
I like that way you're thinking.
Because I had I had like a murder level screwdriver
Mm-hmm.
confiscated in January by the government, but that was just stupid.
Yeah.
I checked a bag. I could have put it in the bag.
Yeah, and I've tried going on shoots without these, and I just feel
Yes.
like a little bit naked.
And you don't try to bring in carry-on very large. The largest ones, you used to sometimes wonder if the smaller one is within whatever the newest regulations may or may not be.
Yeah. So one day I was going to check my bag, and I threw my Leatherman tool in there, and then on the way to the airport or something, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to carry on. Well, my carry-on bag had a Leatherman tool in there, and these things, I don't know, are $85, $95, $100, and I don't want to give it up.
Oh, mine was a gift. That was really?
Yeah, they're
I need to send a thank you note.
they're close to $100 now.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So I get out of line, and I'm like, what am I going to do? My car is at a parking lot, one of those off-site spots.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, I'm going to just go to the parking garage in the basement, find a super dark little corner, put it there in, almost pitch blackness. And then when I come back a week later, it should be there. I mean, who's going to be looking for something in the shadows, in the dark type of thing? And that's exactly what I did. I went to the parking garage. I found a totally dark corner. I just slid this thing into the darkness. No one's going to be looking for it. And did my little shoot, came back and picked it up, went home. That's a good trick. I also was pondering, there's those gigantic plant pots or planters, with the big trees in them. And so I was thinking I would just put it in the soil. But
You're saying when you accidentally brought something to the airport that you knew you couldn't bring in carry-on and you're still in a parking structure, you tried to maybe or considered hiding something in a planter.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
But as I thought more about it, I'm thinking they're going to probably be adding water to that planter over the next couple of days. And
Yes.
I didn't want my thing sitting in soaking wet mud. So that's when I just said, where can I find someplace that's dry, dark, and inconspicuous? And the airport parking garage or any corner of the building, would work. So it worked for me.
I'm sure that might be littering or something.
Could be,
but I think you had positive intent there, so I think you get credit for that.
Yeah,
That's good. I have a question about the shoes.
Okay.
So I'm picturing. So my experience, which is much limited compared to yours, operating camera on sticks for a while, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the hardest things is that you can't walk around, like the shifting of your weight,
Yeah.
like from foot to foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have to do that kind of thing and you can't sit, what's the difference between like a concrete floor and let's call it like industrial carpet, which is over concrete?
Yeah.
Is there any difference there?
Yes, absolutely. So anytime there's padding of any sort, it's going to be helpful.
Even like that Las Vegas crazy carpet kind of stuff?
Even carpeting.
A little bit?
Yep.
Because that's not like cushy carpet.
Right. But it's still going to give you a little bit of cushion that you don't get on a hard surface.
And if you're on a platform operating a camera, what is it, metal?
It is metal. I've done a couple things. So I have actually brought those pads that you see sometimes in people's kitchens for standing around and cooking. I've gone to Home Depot and bought those if I know that I'm actually going to be standing for 6 or 8 hours.
Is it like a gel?
Yeah, it's like a gel thing. Yeah. And they're like 2 feet by 3 feet, but they're specifically made for
Standing.
Yeah.
Like a rectangle?
Yes. So I have those. But if I can, and typically if it's going to be a long day of operating a camera, they will bring you a chair. And so what I will do is I will do a variety of positions to not fatigue my body in any one way. So I'll sit down for a little while, and then I may operate, with the halfway on the chair. Then I may stand up, both feet flat-footed. Then I may shift my weight onto one foot. So you want to move around as much as you can on a platform. Just changing your position. Otherwise, you will get fatigued in any one of those sort of positions. Yeah.
What kind of chair?
Usually a stool.
Like a high top chair or a stool?
A stool.
The idea being that you can operate the camera while sitting?
Yes. Yeah.
Not in between takes or in between breaks or whatever?
Yeah. Usually the stools, because you're on a platform.
Yeah.
The tripod's going to be fairly low anyway, because your platform is a little bit higher than the stage. So when you stand, or if you're on a stool, it's going to be pretty comfortable position. You'll probably be right about here. So that's a nice thing about having a platform to shoot from versus shooting from the floor where you're on the top of the sticks and you're looking up at the viewfinder like this, and that's a whole nother situation on making yourself comfortable, with
like neck strain?
Yeah. Yeah, so what I do now is because my readers are on the bottom, so any monitor that's above my readers, I have to always raise my head like this. And so what I do is I always bring an external monitor, and I set that below the regular camera monitor. And so I still can operate with the monitor, but now I'm looking down through my readers, nice and comfortable. And the viewfinder's up here, right? But I've just run an external viewfinder, right, a little bit lower for me. And now I don't have to go like this. I can go like this, and that's just way more comfortable.
So is this your camera?
No, this is if someone's, supplying, one of those big
right
broadcast cameras with the long box lenses, or even a lens that's like a 22 by or something like that. So cameras that have the really long throws.
Yeah. That's a whole other
that's
video.
a whole nother thing. But yeah, man, well, you know what? It all comes back to comfort, right? So whatever way you can get yourself comfortable, having some good shoes, having something to stand on, getting yourself a chair, even having the correct tools.
Having your tools.
These are all comfort things. So there are a lot of things you can do to make yourself comfortable. Why not do them?
So one other question. When it comes to having a bag of stuff with you, like if you're on a platform, can you stick a bag there?
So usually at the bottom of the of your chair, I'll have a water jug, and it's funny that I actually built, and this is for like those hour-long shoots. I built a little coffee holder on a stand. It's one of those like water bottle things that go on a bicycle, right? Where you slide the water
like
bottle.
a cage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one of those that I modified to put just on a lighting stand. And so when I'm operating, I literally have coffee available to just, drink throughout the day because it can get really long. And I also have a phone holder too, because you can get those little things that just clamp on a pole, also for bicycles. I have one of those too, just having my phone standing by, just, emergency comes up. So I have a place for my phone. I have a little thing of coffee. I've got my water. There's snacks always nearby, because you're going to get some, bio breaks, they call them, And if you need to grab, some sort of a power bar or something like that, I always have that. Comfort.
So the water bottle goes on the ground, but the coffee goes in you took a light stand, like with little triple legs, like a metal stand?
Yeah.
And turn it into a coffee cup holder?
Yeah.
Can you send a picture of that and we'll stick it in the...
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely will. Yeah, so it just, you got to think ahead. You got to think like, I think one of the things good about getting older is you get a little bit wiser. And so part of the wisdom is, how can I make myself more comfortable? Well, I want to have some water nearby. I want to have some food nearby. I want to have some coffee, or maybe it's, some sort of energy drink, My water jug is really big. That's why I don't have that, within hand's reach. I could just reach down and grab it. But those are all things, right, that, you just want to make your life a little bit easier.
I know we've talked about this a couple times, but it sounds like functionality is
It's key.
it's a functionality
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
So even if there are people around who are somehow presenting something, like a producer with a look or a DP looking kind of, an artist look
Yeah.
instead of like your philosophy is it entirely functional? Let me turn that into a question. Or do you ever say I need to look a certain way?
I'm going to go for 100% function.
Uh-huh.
Yep. That's where I'm always going to lean until otherwise told.
Have you ever felt like that was a bad idea? Like, oops.
I've never had an oops. I think it's always acceptable. I think because I feel like a lot of this stuff is out of necessity, right? You're gonna need some hydration. You're gonna probably need your flashlight. You're gonna need comfortable shoes. You're gonna need good clothing. So it's really hard for anyone to argue those things.
I think I'm trying to get in the head of someone who might be watching
Yeah.
this podcast. It's like if you're an independent filmmaker, solo shooter, doing a little corporate, it might be hard to say, I'm okay looking functional here because I'm usually trying to sort of present a little. It's more like marketing a little bit, like the look, But you know what I mean. I wonder if
Yeah.
people can. I wonder if that. I know it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
But you also have like a humble nature, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like in a very like collaborative mentorship of people
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah.
Do you think younger people should consider being more functional than they think they can be?
Are you talking like attire or gadgets or both? Or
So,
specifically, what are you talking about? Like,
really basic stuff. Like, you're on some shoot. Maybe it's an agency's shoot. And there's a little bit of pizzazz to it or something. Like I don't know. Like there's that client and account person representation kind of like feel. It's a little bit of a party. Like how shoots can be like that, like a little showy.
yeah.
Like, and then if you're a younger person in the career and you're like, oh, I kind of want to be part of the show. So it's almost like you're an agency person.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked at a couple agencies full time, or whatever. And it's like, it has like a certain thing where when the client's there and you're shooting or whatever, it has like I can't think of another word other than party.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, there's like this sort of stylized look or whatever to the agency itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then to the accompanying crew sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But your specific markets are maybe more.
Well, and it's not only my markets, it's a little bit of my gray hair is going to give me a little bit more flexibility. You know what I mean? I think, there may be some more tolerance there. Obviously this guy is a senior guy. He's been around. And, if he wants to have a 64-ounce water bottle that's pink, standing by, I think people would be okay with that, You know what I mean? Instead of like, a cool little blazer type of thing, blending in. I could be wrong, but
No, I love that. I love that. I mean, I hadn't thought of that. If you're young and you're trying to figure out who, your identity or your markets or, there might be a little bit more of a, it's not pretense.
it's maybe blending in, right? You blend in more. So I guess for me, I don't need to blend in anymore, right? Maybe I used to. And you have a valid point there, really, right? You're young, you're up and coming. You want to play the scene a little bit more. You want to make sure you're part of the crowd. And so I probably did that when I was younger, but now I go just more for the creature comforts, and it seems to be 100% tolerated, right? And that's just maybe just because, like you say, I have an attitude like, hey, I'm just, just having a water bottle nearby, and I got some snacks, down here, and I got a coffee cup, because...
Yeah, this could be a conversation for a whole other video, but I've seen it many times, like this sort of intersection of art and commerce.
Yeah.
And especially people who are aspiring artists who are doing some commerce
Yeah.
to pay the bills. But then it's like, well, do I show up as my artist self or do I show up in a service capacity? So if like you're doing a hotel,
Yeah.
Shoot, and everyone is dressed functionally, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Are you
no.
okay saying, today I'm doing hotel, today I'm doing ballroom, whatever, today it's functional. It's almost like a different identity. I don't know how to explain this, but I've seen it many times where having both of those things, they're in conflict. Oh, I'm doing this one. This is for money.
Yeah.
But I'm an independent filmmaker, and so it's almost like there's a dissonance there for people sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen it, and I'm not like a art. I like the commerce part, so I'm more like you, I guess,
Yeah.
like with the functional thing.
Yeah.
Although I might like.
I guess you just don't want to call attention to yourself. It really depends, right? If I guess even if you're the DP, right? Do you want to be walking around with one of those cool scarves, like, or do you want to just be like the low key guy? That's the DP, that's the director, and kind of just be part of the crew instead of calling attention to yourself. There's no.
But sometimes you're the DP.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you still play the humble role.
Absolutely.
Is that a function of? Well, I think I like what you said. It's a function of your experience, where you can probably play whatever role you want to.
Yeah, and I don't need to be a show off. I don't need to call attention to myself. I don't need to have a cool hat on or some pink glasses, and like, that's the man in charge. There are some showy guys out there, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some people that they're nonchalant, basically.
So,
and I guess like if you were on a show with Clint Eastwood as director, right? That guy is like as low key as you could possibly get. I think he just wears like flannels and jeans and sneakers, right? And then you could get Martin Scorsese out there, director as well, and he may just have on a blazer and the cool little scarf, and maybe a fedora, right? He's playing the whole scene, and that's his thing, right?
Yeah.
So
what's the just to begin about you? I guess you have a very long career.
Yeah.
Of playing this way you play it.
Like just not front and center.
What's the value of being minimalistic in your presence?
I don't know if it really has value. I guess it's self-value, really, more than anything. What you want to be doing those things for yourself. So,
as in that's your comfort zone, your sensibility.
Yeah. I just like always being the low-key guy. I guess there's going to be personalities out there that want to be the high-key, call attention to myself, I'm cool type of dude. I've got on red sneakers today, And
have you ever seen somebody who is kind of showy, who is good at dialing it down and being low-key?
No.
I haven't either.
No. Yeah.
That's where I was kind of going with this. I was like, I wonder if that's like a mentorship thing. Hey, if you are... it doesn't need to be a bad thing that you want to have a presence or be showy or be extra artistic or whatever.
Right.
But having the ability to do both would be valuable, I think.
Yeah. And I think there's times you can be you if you are a flashy guy. I'm not saying it's wrong to call attention to yourself if you are the director, if you are a DP. I guess I'm just saying that's not my way. I'd rather your actions dictate the kind of person you are than your clothing, or even your attitude.
Rich, thank you.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. Very exciting, very exciting. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, there you go.
House lights off.
Yeah.
A little darker, I can't tell.
It's hard to...
It's darker than this one.
And I'm in focus, all right?
Yeah, I saw the eye detection. I saw the eye thing going.
Yeah. Rolling audio in there now. This is a little wider.
I see we have those in, which is fine.
It's 4K, so I could definitely.
Yeah.
I'll take off the edge.
Yeah. No, it's not too high.
No.
Awesome. Hey, DJ.
What's up, Rich?
How are you?
Okay. Is that recording? Everything recording? We hit all the buttons. No. It's good. It's good.
You got my level?
I think so. So this time we're going to record the audio properly.
Okay, good.
I think so. So you got microphone. It's looking okay.
That's kind of an odd thing.
I didn't do the overhead cam.
Oh yeah.
Where's my phone?
The thing I use the most on my watch is Find My Phone.